$4,082 with my latest launch. Now I made heaps of mistakes with this one. And I got a few lessons that I learned that I'm going to share. I got some notes here on my phone. So I just wrapped up a launch last night for Threads OS, and it was a live three workshops that I delivered live. One was on a Thursday, and then the next one was the following Tuesday, then the next one was last Thursday. I've never done a launch like this. It was 14 days, and I'll get into some more details here shortly. And I ran it on Stan Store, something I've never done before. So a lot of things that I've never done before. And I wanted to try some things and see what would work, what I like, things like that. So anyways, the website or the sales page got 1,997 visits, 111 sales, a conversion rate of 5.1%, which I love that conversion rate. That's really, really good. That's really good. I don't want to say it's really, really good, but it's 5%. I'm happy with that. $4,081.50. So some of the mistakes that I made, number one is, like I said, I did this, it was 14 days. I launched it August 25th, which was 2 weeks ago today, and I wrapped it up last night at midnight. That was way too long. That was way too long. I typically like doing 5-day launches, and to be honest, 5-day launches, I feel are a little too long. 3-day launches are better. And it's like, okay, well, I run out of steam with a 5-day launch. Why in the hell would I not, think I'm going to run out of steam with a 14-day launch? I should have thought about that a little bit better. So I hit it hard the first couple of days. And then like in the middle there, like I rarely promoted it. I rarely talked about it. And the sales reflected that, because I didn't really talk about it much in those middle days. So if I were to do it over again, 14 days is way too long. 3 days is better. 3 to 5 days is a better window for me. That's what works for me. I know other people do 10, 14 day, 21 day launches. I don't know how they do it. I don't have the stamina for that. Maybe that's my old age, but that was way too long of a promotion. Next mistake I made was, I called it Threads OS, and I've talked about this. It was 3 workshops. Workshop number 1 was on how to take my money offers. Workshop number 2 was how to create content that opens wallets. And then workshop number 3 was how I do my email and how to hack your social media hustle with my simple email system that takes me about 15 minutes a day to write a daily email. So I called it Threads OS. It really wasn't. All of them can be applied to any platform. So I really pigeonholed myself with the Threads OS. Also, I already have 2 Threads guides out there, Threads Unleashed 1, Threads Unleashed 2, that I've sold a lot, 2,800 times, probably 2,500 times, so I'm already known for Threads, and that's kind of why I did that. But a lot of people asked, what's the difference between this and Threads Unleashed? And then I would explain that, well, it's not really has anything to do with Threads. And they're like, well, why'd you call it Threads OS? And I was like, because this is what I use on Threads, but it could be used on Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, Facebook, So I screwed up with the name there. And I caught that before I launched it. And I was going to change the name 3 days before I launched it, and I didn't. I don't regret not changing it, whatever, but that was a screw up on my part. So when you're naming your products or your offers, I can make the argument it's good to pigeonhole yourself, then it's specific from a platform, but I can also make the argument it's not good, so I don't know if it's right or wrong. Threads Unleashed was a guide that can be applied on any social media platform, anywhere where writing is involved, but it has the word Threads in it, and I think that's why it did so well. On the flip side, Threads OS, it's kind of the opposite of what I just said, so that was tough. Another mistake I made, I tried to market the workshops individually, which was kind of foolish, and I didn't do a good job doing that. Like focusing on a problem for each workshop, and then that got kind of all jammed together. What I should have done is zoomed out and sold the ultimate problem that all three of them solve. You know, that's what I should have sold it as. And initially the problem was, if you're struggling to not make sales on threads, you know, this system will help you, all three components. But I didn't really lean into that messaging during the launch. You know, so I made a lot of mistakes. The last mistake, since I like being open and honest, my personal life is kind of a fucking mess right now. I won't get into it all right here, but that, I would be lying if I said that didn't fuck me up, because that really did. This last 4 or 5 days, like, my life radically changed, or is about to change. I'll just say that for now. And that really fucked up my mindset. And it's fucking my mindset up right now as I do this video. And it probably will for, you know, for the next couple of weeks. Anyways, I won't get into all the details. I'm not gonna trauma dump my personal life and relationships here on the YouTubes. That's not what this channel's about. But that definitely, you know, and that's the thing. When you run a personal brand, your personal life can elevate your brand, your mindset and your business. It can also pull it down though, like crabs in a bucket. You know, and that part's hard, and a lot of people talk about that, you know, but your personal stuff it gets in the way of business stuff, and vice versa. You know, I have business challenges, and then I let that affect the kids, and that's not fair, you know, and that part's hard, you know, compartmentalizing those things, you know, and like saying, okay, this is this and this is that part's hard, you know. I know that's not really talked about much, you know. You know, if I have a bad, you know, I remember I was running a Shopify store. I'd be spending $1,500 a day on ads. You know, some days I'd make $4 or $5 grand. And some days I'd make $800, you know? So essentially I was 700 in the hole. Plus I had to buy all this shit, the cost of goods. You know, I'd lose $1,200 in a day. And they knew, like, I'm not eating dinner at the dinner table because I was crabby. I was in a bad mood. And that's not fair to the family. So personal life, it's hard separating the two. I haven't figured it out. If you have an answer, please drop it down below. But that is definitely a struggle of mine. So those are like the 3 or 4 mistakes I made. Oh, and one other thing, I hired a mentor last week. And this isn't necessarily a mistake, but I hired a mentor last week. I talked about it in this video up here. And I'm really like going through her training and applying and starting to implement what she teaches. And so my focus for the last week has been on that, and it wasn't on this Threads OS, and that was a big part of it. I probably should have waited to hire her till today, but her mentorship closed last week, so I had to jump on it, you know. So that was one other thing. Lessons learned. I already kind of touched on this. Focus on solving one main problem. I should have done a better job of that and repeated that one main problem over and over, and kind of positioned it as like a system to solve the problem, you know. Another thing I'm grateful for is I have 3 assets now. I have 3 assets, really, really good assets too. And I'm not like tooting my own horn. I guess I kind of am. 3 really good assets on how to create offers, how to create messaging, and how to do email that I can sell, bundle up, include in upsells. In fact, I'll probably take these 3 trainings and include it in a high ticket offer that I'm building out. So I'm really happy about that. I've gotten some really, really good feedback. I had a guy who's built a $3 million business online, and he was blown away at the training. He said he spent over $250,000 on coaching and stuff like that. And he was like, dude, you should be, he posted this in the Facebook group and said, you should be charging $3 to $5 grand for that. That was really cool to see, because that's from a guy who's built a very successful business saying that, you know. So that was awesome. I had a lady yesterday post in the Facebook group. She made $200 last week just implementing. Her business was at 0, and she made $200 just implementing what she learned in one of the workshops. So that was cool. I did tiered pricing, so I launched it at $27, and then I increased it to $37 before the first workshop. And then I increased it to $47 before the second workshop, I think it was. And then it stayed at $47, and then last night I raised it to $97. I was supposed to raise it to $97 at midnight last night because I'm very strict with my deadlines, and I ran it on Stan Store, and you have to manually do it, and I fell asleep at 11:20 last night, not on purpose, you know, but so when I woke up this morning at like 6:45, I changed the price. Usually I run my launches on WordPress, and I definitely missed WordPress. Stan was good, but Stan Store you can't do upsells, and so I missed out on the upsells, and I missed out on, upsells are usually like 20% revenue, so I missed out on a nice chunk of change without having upsells. However, Stan Store is really, really simple. I had no issues with it. It worked. The 5% conversion rate might make up for those upsells if I kind of look at the data a little bit deeper. So I'm not mad that I used Stan Store. I wanted to try it out. I don't think I'll be using it moving forward. I might, but I don't think so. I'm not crazy on their analytics. I'm not crazy on their analytics. Yesterday, this will be the last one. Yesterday was a $713 day, which was cool because I feel like I half-assed it. We were at church, we were at my parents' house. Again, personal shit, like I was dealing with personal shit this whole weekend. And so I didn't feel like I gave it my all yesterday with closing it out. I did email 3 times yesterday and proving once again that people wait to the last minute, and I can't remember how, I think 13 or 12 people I think bought yesterday. 11 or 12 or 13 people, I can't remember exactly. But that's it. I'm not like disappointed in the numbers. I had higher expectations, but like looking back on it, I'm like, oh yeah, I made a lot of mistakes. It wasn't my focus. It was way too long. That's not what she said, by the way. So I learned from it, but what I'm most proud of is I have 3 really good assets that I can leverage. And that's what I'm most happy about, is having those assets. And I already got, I think, like 5 to 8 testimonials, and I'll continue pushing for more testimonials. So I'm really happy about that. But that's the breakdown. I don't know what I said, a little over $4,000. Those are the mistakes I made, the lessons I learned, some of my takeaways. I wanted to give it to you real and raw. I just pulled out these numbers this morning, jotted them down. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go for a walk, film this on YouTube, and get it out there now. I'm not overly happy with it. I'm not like upset by it or anything. It just is. I see the mistakes that I made. I can see where I need to make improvements for next time, and that's what it's all about when launching anything. Whatever worked, double down on that. Whatever didn't work, discard that for next time. That's it. So anyways, I do these videos. I'm gonna start doing these videos twice a week now. I used to do them daily, but that was a bit too much. So if you like this style video, it's 1 take, 0 edits. I literally walk around the neighborhood here in Las Vegas and I just record my thoughts. So if you like this style, click that subscribe button. Thank you.